shrugs. I just couldn't find an opportunity with it. Unspecified month and day, 9:52 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Lobby.
Oh, Naruhodō-kun, I'll be counting on you today.
I'm really sorry, Iris-chan.
Huh?
I became a defense attorney, specifically for times like this, and yet... Why did something like this have to happen? After I was banned from defending in court.
Honestly, I never dreamed that someone would drag me to court like this. But I'm sure everything will be fine. After all, like Holmesy said.
You'll be fine, Iris! Leave everything to me! I've seen Mr. Naruhodō defend plenty of times. It'll be easy peasy. I'll definitely prove your innocence, since we can't count on Naruhodō. The benefits of having a Japanese 3DS, man. But I just don't know how homebrewing a 3DS works, so I have to deal with buying a Japanese 3DS. Well, he talked a big game, but I don't see him anywhere. There's only 5 minutes until Iris-chan's trial starts. Oh, we're defending Iris, okay.
Now, no need to worry. I'm sure he's just got sidetracked with catching some bad guys on his way over.
You make these bad guys sound as trifling as a cup of tea with breakfast.
More importantly, Naruhodō-kun, is that your pocket watch? I've never seen you with it before.
Yeah, I brought it from Japan, but forgot about it until just now. My grandpa gave it to me as a present for getting accepted into university. Oh! I learned something new today.
Huh, it looks like it's gone all black.
Well, it was probably pretty cheap. It turned like this right away. I took this watch with me when I visited the hot springs with my friends, see? By the time we headed home, it had turned all black. Seemed like a waste to throw it away though, so I decided to keep that.
I see.
That's simply dreadful, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodō? Home-san. A cheap, shabby thing like that doesn't suit an exchange student like you. You ought to just hand it over to this shabby detective. Come now, hurry. Sure, if you really want it.
Don't give it to him, Naruhodō-kun. That watch is very valuable and made of pure silver. Isn't that right, Holmesy?
Huh? That's Iris for you. Looks like she saw right through me. What do you mean? What do you mean? This watch is pure silver? It was the sulfur. Sulfur? There are some natural hot springs whose water is supplied by sulfur springs. Oh, you're right. The area around those hot springs did have a pretty strong smell to them. And then, this is something that everyone in the world but you knows, apparently, but if silver is exposed to sulfur, it tarnishes and goes black. Huh? Really?
I'll shine it up for you real nice later.
Oh no, I feel like a sneeze is coming. Well, either way. Oh, okay, no. That feeling when you know there's a sneeze, when you feel like you got a sneeze coming, but it doesn't come. That expensive pure silver watch doesn't suit an exchange student like you. You better hand it over to this world-famous great detective. I'm sure this great detective would take it straight to a pawn shop. Well, I'm awfully sorry for having kept you waiting, folks. Actually, I was on my way over here this morning. I ended up catching a bad guy and had to take him to the police.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that.
these two. I guess all I can say is I should have expected as much. Mr. Devin Musgrave? Musgrave? Mr. Devin Musgrave. He's a younger brother of a certain big-time criminal. Translation note. The name was originally Poland Musgrave. She wanted to preserve the pun that's formed when the two brothers' first names are combined. Okay, well that's a spoiler, but now we know. Oh, yes. Have you heard of him? Of course I haven't. Well, I suppose it's not important now. Now then, why don't you start telling me about it, Iris? What exactly was it that you did to land yourself here? You don't know? Hey, even I can't provide a proper defense if I don't know what the charges are. Well, that was included in the records I put together for you. I'm sure I gave them to you yesterday. Good grief. Now look here, Mr. Naruhodō. Now's no time to be chatting casually about things that happened yesterday. Ooh. Defendant, defense. It's time for the trial to convene. Proceed to the courtroom at once. I had a feeling this might happen. Alright, let's give this a go, shall we, folks?
Yeah, let's.
Oh yes, I'll be counting on you, Mr. Naruhodō.
Yeah, me too, Naruhodō-kun.
My name is Naruhodō Ryūnosuke. I guess you could kind of call me a defense attorney. I'm an exchange student sent by Japan to study the great British judicial system. But I'm kind of on probation at the moment. During my last trial, I did something that a defense attorney must never do. But today, I'll be standing at the defense's bench again in London's Supreme Court as a legal aid to attorney Sherlock Holmes. I wish I had a webcam right now because I just made a face when I said attorney Sherlock Holmes. That has a weird ring to it. Same day, 10:05 a.m., the Old Bailey Supreme Court.
Now then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare court to be in session.
Right? How did he do that?
We will now commence the fair and just trial of the defendant Iris Watson. Allow me to ask both the prosecution and defense. Are you both ready to present your cases?
The prosecution is ready. Oh, honestly. Surely that goes without saying. Well, give them our answer, Mr. Naruhodō. Huh? Yeah, we're ready. I think. And there you have it, Judgy. What a pain. What are you doing here, amateur detective? Whatever do you mean, Reapy? Filthy hands that have been creeping about crime scenes have no business touching the Supreme Court's defense's bench. This is a place for legal sparring. You don't belong here. As far as I'm concerned, defending is nothing more remarkable than a yawn before breakfast. And I always make sure to wash my hands before breakfast.
Mr. Holmes, it's currently 10:05 a.m. I heard that the reason the trial was getting off to a late start was because the defense was tardy.
Yes, pardon me. After all, on my way over, I ended up getting sidetracked catching a criminal and had to hand him over to the police.
A criminal?
A Mr. Devin Musgrave, the younger brother of a certain big-time criminal. Perhaps you know of him. Obviously we don't. Did you say Devin Musgrave? Wait, you know him? In any case, personally, I couldn't just stand by silently and watch the tears of an innocent girl.
Oh, Z.
The girl I know would never commit such a fearsome crime as murder.
Murder?
For the impropriety of reaching for the Lord's chalice after failing to find another outlet for my anger, I beg your indulgence.
Home-san? This may be a forward question, but...
What is it, Mr. Naruhodō? We've only just started and you're already covered in cold sweat.
It's still not too late. Please, take a look at the case file.
You touch the court record button, you can look through the information about the evidence.
Quickly, before Prosecutor Van Zieks throws his Lord's chalice.
At last, the court record. Why didn't you say so sooner? Please. The armband. Some sort of charm that Mr. Naruhodō always wears, wrapped around his arms. Documents, case file. Documents on the case that Mr. Naruhodō compiled for me. The pocket watch. Mr. Naruhodō's silver pocket watch. A chemical reaction occurred between the silver and the sulfur at the natural hot springs he visited, and now it's tarnished black. Indictment summary. The plaintiff is Lord Baroque Van Zieks. The defendant is Iris Watson. The charge is theft. An important memorial item was stolen from plaintiff Lord Van Zieks' prosecutor's office. There's a witness who claims to have seen the defendant fleeing the scene of the crime at the time of the incident. Oh, he's still 23 here. Okay. A defense attorney from the great Japanese Empire. It looks like I'm the one he respects more than anyone else in the world. Sherlock! No! My little roommate. She's a terrifying girl who's both a medical doctor and an author who records my escapades. A great detective whose name is known by everyone in the world. My deduction blasts through the truth to smithereens, leaving not a shard standing. A prosecutor fearfully known as the Grim Reaper. It doesn't look like I'm the one he respects more than anyone else in the world. Oh my god. Oh my god. This dialogue.
It seems that the court needs to confirm the details once more as well. Do you understand the charges clearly or not?
Oh, honestly. Surely that goes without saying. Well then, give them your answer, Mr. Naruhodō.
Huh?
I kinda get the impression that we don't. Come on, you're supposed to say, we understand perfectly. Tell them yourself. A defense attorney who would set foot in the Supreme Court without even knowing what crime the defendant has been accused of. Such an atrocity should be punished by making him taste the fires of hell. Looks like we were too late, Mr. Naruhodō. He already threw his first chalice. Now then, answer us this, amateur detective. What crime has the defendant, Iris Watson, been charged with? Why, that's elementary, dear Reapy. Now, Mr. Naruhodō, give them your answer. Are you really gonna keep making me do this? We checked the information on the evidence in the court record. It should be obvious. The crime the defendant Iris Watson has been charged with is serial murder, theft, treason. We're poking all the wrong answers first, so serial killer. It was, serial murder. It sounds like you've got yourself a rather thrilling roommate, great detective. I can't believe I need to ask this, but what made you say that? Well, I've never been in this position before, so my head just kind of went blank. And I thought, if you're gonna say something, make it intense. So you went with serial murder. You do well to add yourself to the list of victims. Sorry. Now, give that answer one more shot for me, Mr. Naruhodō. Suddenly, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you'll blurt out next. The wrong answer again. Just answer the question yourself. Treason. It might have been treason or something. That's quite a destructive roommate you have there, Crate Detective. Can't believe I need to ask this, but what made you say that? Well, I've never been in this position before, so my head just kind of went blank. So I figured if Irish-chan were to commit a crime, it'd be something at least as serious as that. It would seem that you're the rebel yourself by the sound of it. Sorry. Yes, clearly that's the answer. That's the real truth. Alright, theft. According to the complaint, the defendant's crime was theft. What are you talking about, Mr. Naruhodō? Iris would never do such a thing. Surely even you know that. Tell that to the complaint letter. Incidentally, several people witnessed the defendant's crime. Honestly, what must her parents be like if this is how she turned out? About that, Baroque. Objection! Rapey. I really don't think you should say such things so lightly.
Holmesy. Now then, Lord Van Seeks, please provide the court with an outline of the case. According to the complaint, the plaintiff in this case, in other words, the one who accused the defendant was you yourself, was it not, Lord Baroque Van Seeks?
What? Personally, I don't wish to raise a lawsuit against this girl. However, the item that was stolen was something incredibly special to me.
Special?
It happened 3 years ago. 3 days ago. 3 years ago. Excuse me, 3 days ago. The crime occurred at the prosecutor's office in my office. I passed by my office on my way back from Old Bailey, and there was the girl standing there. When the girl noticed me, she turned and ran away as if fleeing from me. It was clearly Iris Watson. Why are you certain of that? She doesn't really have many distinguishing features after all. Her whole body is one big distinguishing feature if you ask me. I only saw her for a moment, but there was no mistaking it. I saw the girl carrying a small package.
Package?
I had other things to take care of at the time, so I had no choice but to continue on my way. But I couldn't help getting a foreboding feeling about it. When I later returned to my office, you noticed that your special item was missing. Precisely. My chalice had vanished. Which chalice? You have like so many of them. Huh? But it's right there in your hand. It wasn't that one. It was the first chalice I ever used in the Supreme Court, many years ago. You still kept that? It didn't break? Huh? That chalice held special significance to me. That's a rather unexpected tale. After all, no sooner do you produce your chalices than you toss them or crush them. I guess there are only 2 types of memories that could be associated with it. Did I throw it, or did I crush it? That chalice was special.
Well, defendant?
I don't know, but someone needs to make a counter of how many chalices he's broken at this point.
I didn't steal anything.
In that case, What was that package you were clutching at the time?
Huh?
It was a paper bag just about the right shape for my chalice to be inside.
Well, I don't remember. Honest.
You don't remember?
When I got back to Baker Street, I didn't have a package. I was kind of lost in thought at the time.
In that case, do you admit to being at the prosecutor's office that day?
Yes.
And what about breaking into my office? It seems that before we can pierce that little silence, we'll need to hear the eyewitness testimony. Eyewitnesses? There was one other person besides me who was present at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime. Present at the scene at the time of the crime, excuse me.
In that case, the court will hear the witness's testimony.
As you wish.
Is the cape going off? The cape's coming off. Okay. Now we're serious.
In that case, escort the witness to the stand. Mr. Naruhodō. Yes? I believe you already know this, but Iris is, of course, innocent. I can't anticipate what the truth will be at this point in time, but let's catch that rotten criminal for sure. Yes, of course. Gregson! Now then, your name and occupation, witness.
Sir, I'm Tobias Gregson. I am a detective at Scotland Yard. Young lady! I wish you wouldn't stare at me like that. I've no choice. I'm just doing my job.
I know. You're on my side, aren't you, Gregson? Aren't you?
Young lady! Of course I am. Oh no.
It looks like a complicated relationship is beginning to bloom, doesn't it? Poor Detective Gregson. Detective, you were at the prosecutor's office 3 days ago, dropping off some documents, correct?
Yes, sir. But
And you witnessed the defendant out in front of my office door. Is that also correct?
Yes, sir. However, that was... In that case, witness, you will testify about what you saw at the time. Understood, Your Honor.
What I witnessed.
I saw the young lady emerge from Prosecutor Van Ziek's office that day. He appeared to be sneaking around, and when she noticed the prosecutor, she fled. I called out to her in a brief conversation, and then went our separate ways. The young lady was indeed carrying a paper bag at the time. Just as the prosecutor said, it's natural to assume that the stolen chalice was inside. So you saw the defendant come out of the office? Yes. I couldn't help wondering at the time what she'd been doing in the Lord Van Ziek's office.
You're so mean, Gregson.
Hey now, young lady! All I said was what I saw!
In any case, it seems that this proves it. This girl broke into my office on the day of the incident. Mr. Naruhodō. Yes? What have you done? Suddenly we're back into a corner. You're blaming me?
In that case, the defense will conduct its cross-examination.
Of course! That's elementary, dear Judgy. Home-san looks pretty confused. Oh my god, Holmes in that little cut in. That's so weird. I saw the young lady emerge from Van Zeek's office that day. You saw her emerge. Are you sure about that? Huh? Just what do you mean by that? In other words, are you sure she wasn't going in or something? Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodō? That's what you meant, right? No, I don't think that would have changed anything. Then what the heck do you mean? Explain yourself! What I mean is... Are you sure she didn't just happen to be passing by in front of the office or something? Oh, I see! Of course that's what you meant! Well, Detective Gregson, surely that was it, right? Well, the young lady opened the door to the office and came out, so... She was obviously on her way out. Mr. Naruhodō, it sounds like our passionate exchange was for nothing. Right. Now then, testify about how the defendant was acting at the time. He appeared to be sneaking around, and when she noticed the prosecutor, she fled. But I should think that was completely understandable. Huh? Well, why? I mean, look at him. She had this scary chap glaring at her, see? I think that'd be enough to send an innocent 10-year-old girl running for the hills.
It sure is.
My face isn't the issue. It's the fact that you came sneaking out of my office. Either way, the fact that your face was the issue was obvious. That worked unexpectedly well. That's what you get for trying to sidestep my argument, Reapy. That's my line. Oh boy, calm down, kids.
So, what did the defendant do next?
Yes, Your Honor. I called out to her and we had a brief conversation, then went our separate ways. What could a genius 10-year-old girl and a worn-out middle-aged detective have to talk about? I think you added a few too many unnecessary phrases to your question just now. Well, it's just that the young lady was acting strange, so I asked her about it. Are you alright, young lady? I asked. Sounds more like the behavior of a servant than a detective. Incidentally, it ended up with the young lady worrying about me.
Well, I mean, Greggy-san's face was all ashen.
True. I was a little under the weather at the time. I'd been working a lot of night shifts, and my face was probably covered with a sheen of oil or something from all my fish and chips.
Oh, but you're still covered in an oily sweat even now, Greggy-san.
Well, I mean, being dragged to this place and made to play this role doesn't help.
It's times like this that you should drink some of the tea I gave you.
Oh, about that. That tea. The detective's ashen complexion has nothing to do with this trial. If that's all you talked about, then continue your testimony. Sir! That tea, huh? Sounds like Holmes-san noticed something. What should I do about their conversation? Ask about it, drop it. Ask about it! What's this about tea?
I just remembered. I gave some to you that day, didn't I, Greggy-san?
Yes, you'll feel better if you drink this, you said. It was so sweet of you. It was in a flask just like this.
I carry it around in a flask, so I can drink it whenever. I still hadn't drank any, so it was filled to the brim.
My goodness, was it delicious? It made me feel so much better.
It's really good for you. I don't know why you don't just drink some now.
Well, it was so delicious that I ended up drinking it all right then and there.
Huh? But there was so much!
True, I sure drank my fill. I could feel it sloshing around in my stomach all day. Alright, I guess I'll return your flask to you now.
Okay, I'll fill it nice and full for you again.
That flask! You got it from Iris right after the incident. You're certain of that? It's just like we spent all that time saying, you rotten detective! The defense would like Iris's flask accepted into evidence. That worthless tea has nothing to do with this case. Not yet, anyway.
Very well. In that case, detective, submit that cute little flask. The court will accept it as evidence.
As you wish. Iris's flask. Apparently, sweet little Iris gave this to Gregson at the time of the incident. It's empty now.
Now then, witness, continue your testimony.
Yes, sir. The young lady was indeed carrying a paper bag at the time. Ah! I appreciate if you didn't say such pointless things. Pointless? After all, as far as I know, Iris has never carried a paper bag in her entire life. You're one to talk. Stop saying pointless things. In other words, this witness is at least as pointless as I am. No, I definitely saw it. Isn't that right, young lady?
I honestly don't remember. I didn't have any paper bag with me when I got home that day.
Incidentally, about how large was the package that you saw? Let's see. I guess it was about the right size for a small bottle, or a single chalice to fit inside. As the prosecutor said, it's natural to assume the stolen chalice was inside. How rich! Someone like you who's never known anything about the smoggy air of the Imperial City, talking about nature. There's nothing to do with nature, only whether it was natural or not. But didn't you actually see it? Right, detective? You didn't actually see that the contents of Iris Chan's package were a chalice. Of course he didn't. How could he have with those with those Imperial City smog clouded eyes of his? Setting aside the issue of whether my eyes are clouded or not, well, it's true. I didn't actually see the chalice. Oh, so even that Imperial City smog clouded brain of yours is capable of admitting that. I know it hardly matters, but remember this, great detective. You're breathing in all the same smoggy air that I am. Now that you mention it, I am, aren't I? You're admitting it? I'm certain the young lady was carrying a paper bag in her arms at the time. If you can come up with some other possibility as to what was inside it, besides the stolen chalice, I'd gladly rethink my position on the matter. I guess that does it for the testimony, Holmes-san. I guess this does it for our luck too, Mr. Naruhodō. Don't say such pessimistic things like that all of a sudden. Yeah, I mean, that's my job. I mean, the nerve of that fish and chips tosser saying something like that. And here comes the fish and chips insult again. Anyway, I think the most important point of this testimony is that mysterious package that Iris-chan was holding. We should do some more digging into whether there are any other possibilities as to what could be inside. It's natural to assume that the stolen chalice was inside. Junior Detective Gregson, it seems that there's just one point in your fish and chips scented testimony that contains a major contradiction. Huh? The evidence that would expose the contradiction is this flask of Iris's.
What?
This is so trippy. Right.
The important thing here is Iris-chan's flask. The contents of the package she was carrying was not the stolen chalice. It was a flask full of tea, and she gave it to Detective Gregson. That's why she didn't have the package anymore by the time she got back to Baker Street. Which means that Iris-chan's crime can't be proven. In that case, let me ask you this. Defense. That's just what I was about to say. Listen closely, Reapy. In Mr. Sherlock Holmes' Logic and Reasoning Experimental Theater. Now then, Junior Detective, I believe you previously stated the following. I drank all the tea that was in this flask. That's right. What of it? The flask holds a lot more than it looks like it does. The average person couldn't possibly drink it all in one sitting, no matter how delicious the tea was. Huh? What? In other words, your testimony is contradictory. Huh? Well, I mean, you can say that all you want, but the fact remains that I drained it dry. I was incredibly thirsty. Holmes-san? Can I say something? What is it, Mr. Naruhodō? I'm a tad busy right now. That's not exactly the contradiction I was thinking of. Well, just watch. I was wondering what sort of contradiction you found. How meaningless. Whether he drank it all down or not. To drink or not to drink. That right there is a very important question. What? Let's take you, for example, Lord Baroque Van Zieks. Me? Since the start of the trial, you've filled that glass of yours several times. But you still haven't drank a single sip. Honestly, it's quite irritating to watch. I like how he brought the spotlights into the courtroom. You take a whiff and then throw it. Raise a toast and then crush it. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Silence! You have no right to say such... Just this once. Why don't you take a sip of that Lord's chalice of yours? Hmm?
What do you mean?
Holmes-san, what are you... Oh, we're getting a new animation, I think. Yes. I like how he had to, like, consider a couple times. What the blazes? I just so happen to notice that the liquid you keep pouring, when compared to what you usually drink in court, is ever so slightly fainter in color. What?
What?
Prosecutor Van Zieks, what was that all about just now? It's tea. Herb tea, if I'm not mistaken. Huh? Herb tea? It would seem, folks, that we've just found it. The answer to the question of where the tea that Iris gave the junior detective that day had vanished off to. No way.
Detective Gregson?
Now, just a... All throughout the trial, you've seen him sniffing it, then throwing it or crushing it. And every so often, he drinks from the Lord's chalice. You just couldn't help wanting to know what it tasted like.
No,
You snuck into his office and enjoyed a sip. And that's when you noticed that at some point, you empty the bottle.
Ah, what?
If he finds the bottle like this, I'm buggered. That's what you were thinking. So you thought to pour a different liquid of a similar color into the bottle to fool him.
And that was my tea.
I can practically see the scene unfolding before me. The scene of you sneakily filling the empty wine bottle with tea. In other words, that day, Iris wasn't the only one who snuck into Reepe's office. This fish and chips loving junior detective also had the opportunity to commit the crime.
What? Order! What is the meaning of this?
I thought this had nothing to do with the case at first, but somewhere along the line, we managed to reveal another possible suspect. Oh, Mr. Sherlock Holmes' defending skills! It's true. This is herb herb tea. Detective, what on earth is going on here?
Peggy-san, did you really use my tea for something like that? I was looking forward to you enjoying it.
No. This is all a misunderstanding, young lady.
He ran out of breath before he could finish the word lady.
I did drink the tea, all of it. That's all I did. I didn't do anything with the office or stolen the chalice at all.
But the tea inside the wine bottle.
It's impossible that someone other than me put it in there.
Like who?
Like the young lady.
Huh?
I mean, think about it. She's the one who gave me the tea. She might have just given me what was left over after pouring some into the...
That's impossible.
Huh?
The flask was apparently brimming full of tea. If she had given you what was left after pouring some into the wine bottle, then there shouldn't have been hardly any tea left in that flask. And to desperately try to pin the blame on an innocent young girl. What must Iris be thinking of you right now?
Ah!
Gregson, no!
It sounds as though we'll need to hear a little more testimony from you. Although I believe the nuance of this request is a little different from before. Oh.
His squinty eyes. The suspicious detective.
I swear, all I did was drink a load of tea. I didn't enter Prosecutor Van Ziek's office, nor did I steal a taste of his wine. I didn't put any tea in the wine bottle, and of course I didn't steal a chalice either. Actually, I've seen the chalice that was stolen. It didn't look particularly valuable, so it didn't really catch my interest. How mysterious. Once you label someone in your mind as suspicious, everything about that person, from the tip of their mustache to the bottom of their fish and chips, start to look suspect. Ugh, I never thought things would turn out like this.
Regardless, although this herb tea has long since gone cold, it's hard to imagine ever having been drinkable in the first place.
What?
That's kind of weird. How could my herb tea ever not be delicious?
Wow, Baroque. Now then, defense, you will conduct your cross-examination.
I shall humbly begin to do so then. This is awkward now, all things considered. Oh, all I did was drink a load of tea. Was the tea really that good?
It's not just incredibly fragrant, that delicate sweetness and depth. The moment you take that highly satisfying gulp and let it slide down your throat is a moment of utter bliss. It leaves on the tongue a fine fragrance and an aftertaste of joy.
Suddenly, I'm having a fierce craving for some of Iris's tea. Me too. Anyway, I think drinking a whole flask of that would be overindulgence.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't underestimate how salty these fish and chips I love so much are.
Huh? When I chomp this stuff down like this, it absorbs all the moisture in my mouth.
But the salted oil it leaves behind in the throat is pure bliss.
I can't take this. Everything he talks about just sounds way too bloody appetizing. That's true. All I can think about now is tea and fish and chips. What have you done, Detective Gregson?
Don't blame me! Anyway, I
didn't enter the office or steal the taste of the wine. And how do you intend to prove that?
Prove it? Well, that might be a little difficult.
Ha! Did you hear that, everyone? This over-the-hill, oily detective says it would be difficult. And yet he still tries to pin the blame on a mere clueless 10-year-old girl.
Oh, I have no idea what happened in there, Greggy-san.
In that case, I think the issue is that Iris-chan isn't just any girl.
But I swear I'm not lying.
I didn't pour tea in the wine bottle and I didn't steal a chalice. Perhaps this is an opportunity given to me by God.
What do you mean?
1 second. These two suspects, a pure innocent girl and a suspicious middle-aged man, are standing here side by side.
I'm not a suspect!
Sounds like he accepted the part about him being a suspicious middle-aged man, though. Come now, look at them objectively and tell me which you think is the guilty party.
Well, when you put it that way, you're quite right.
Don't look away so awkwardly! I'm begging you! Looks like he did it, folks! Poor Detective Gregson.
But just what sort of chalice was this one that was stolen?
I've seen the chalice that was stolen. Incidentally, what sort of chalice was it?
It was a ragged-looking thing, made of metal. It was tall and thin.
Made of metal? What's that expression for? Oh, nothing. I just wonder why you didn't use that one anymore.
So what you really mean to say is, if you're just going to throw your glass chalices around and smash them to bits, you could just use your metal one and have it last you the whole trial.
Well, pretty much. You're so naive, Mr. Naruhodō. Huh? If he had a chalice that didn't break when he threw it, then he'd have to pick it up every time, wouldn't he? That's true. That would be pretty uncool, wouldn't it? Wow. Don't throw out half-cocked explanation and accept them as the truth just because it's convenient for you.
In any case, I guess you could say that chalice was an antique.
It didn't look valuable, so it didn't really catch my interest. It didn't look particularly valuable, you say? And why was that?
Well, I feel bad for putting it that way, but
it doesn't bother me. I think it should not. I should think not. You've always been a rude fellow, haven't you?
Well, am I wrong? You'll think I'll agree to that?
So, what made you think it looked cheap?
Well, how should I put this? It was a very simple and unadorned. And when I glanced inside, it was tarnished black.
Tarnished? By the way, when you say inside, you mean inside the chalice?
Yeah, it turned all black at the bottom.
so I figured it was made of some sort of cheap metal. That's why, personally, I would never be tempted to steal it.
Well, what do you think, Mr. Naruhodō? What do you think about the junior detective's flimsy excuse just now? It's important, it's not important, it's important.
I believe it could be an important clue.
I completely agree, Mr. Naruhodō. Junior detective, I'd love to have that statement you just made added to the testimony.
I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this. The inside of the chalice has been tarnished black. I figured it must have been made of some sort of cheap metal.
Junior Detective Gregson, it would seem that once again, there is one large contradiction in your testimony.
What?
The thing that exposes that contradiction is Mr. Naruhodō's watch here.
But what? Attorney Naruhodō's watch?
Yeah, the important point here is the type of metal that goes black when tarnished. When pure silver comes into contact with sulfur, it turns black. Which means that there was nothing cheap about the stolen chalice. Now, Junior Detective, I believe you said earlier that the stolen chalice was a cheap bit of rubbish that wouldn't fetch a good price.
Yeah, what of it?
The important thing isn't the price, it's the memory it contains. And that goes double. Well, memories of a failed attempt on one's life with poison.
Poison?
Precisely. That chalice almost saw Reapy here to an early grave. Huh?
What?
I love that. Are you saying that memory is worthless?
Well, I mean...
Holmes-san, can I say something? You again, Mr. Naruhodō. What is it this time? That's a completely different contradiction from the one I had in mind. Then let me ask you this. What do you think was the true nature of the tarnish on the stolen chalice? Wouldn't it have been sulfur? It would have been sulfur, of course.
Sulfur?
This is something that everyone in the world but you knows, apparently, but... if silver is exposed to sulfur, it tarnishes and goes black.
What?
Please look at my pocket watch. I took it with me on a hot spring trip with my friend. And... Oh no! That hurt! They went on a hot spring trip! Okay, sorry! By the time we headed home, it had already turned this color.
How unfortunate. So, the reason the stolen chalice went black was...
it was probably because the prosecutor was lounging in the hot spring and sipping from the Lord's... Don't put me on the same level as yourself! Besides, if that were the case, the tarnish would be on the outside of the chalice.
So then what on earth caused it to tarnish like that?
I mean, I don't know what other friend that he would be referring to, so yeah, I believe Asogi and Naruhodō went to the hot springs. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. Like, nudity is not an issue in Japan.
What? So then what on earth caused it to tarnish like that? I know. It was probably arsenic.
Arsenic?
You mean the stuff that bad guys always use in the fictional novels to try to assassinate the king? I think you read too much Sherlock Holmes?
Exactly. It's a tasteless, scentless poison, so it's always been a favorite drug for little old assassins.
1 or 2 mouthfuls of ornate food or choice wine and then it's all over. You can't mean that Prosecutor Van Zieks was... Yes, it's true. I noticed just in time, though. Well, obviously, because you're still alive. Does that mean that sharp nose of yours picked up the scent of arsenic? As Iris just said, arsenic is flavorless and scentless. Besides, this is the man who sniffed that glass over and over and still didn't realize there was tea in there. There's no way he'd notice with a nose that dull.
So then how did he...
All those kings weren't willing to sit idly by and let themselves be killed off. They began taking preventative measures of their own. Something like a good luck charm.
What was it?
Your silver dishes.
Your silver. That's true. You do always picture powerful people eating with silver forks and knives. It wasn't just for the beauty. It also had a more practical reason. I believe everyone here ought to be able. I believe everyone here ought to be able to see where this is headed, right?
I see.
Silver doesn't just react to sulfur, it also reacts to deadly poisons. I expected as much from you, Junior Detective. That was just the answer I expected you to give. But there's no way, as if such a convenient metal exists. Poor Detective Gregson. The important point here lies in how arsenic is made.
How arsenic is made?
There's a type of mineral known as arsenophrite. It's a sulfide compound of arsenic and iron. Arsenopyrite.
Right. That's Iris-chan for you.
If you crush arsenopyrite and fire it in a kiln, then let the vapor cool, it becomes an arsenic crystal. But once that happens, it's not pure anymore. It always causes sulfur to form.
Sulfur. Ah! With our current technology, we aren't able to completely remove sulfur from arsenic. So then, if you put a dose of arsenic on a silver dish, the silver reacts with the composition of the sulfur and the dish tarnishes black. Well, it isn't clear exactly how effective it is, but at the very least, it was effective enough to save Reapy.
Ah.
This knowledge is so well known among members of the judicial system that you could even call it common sense. It's impossible for a detective to not know it. Isn't that right?
No, well...
When you saw the pure silver chalice on display in the office on the chessboard, it unintentionally reached for it. That's what we can assume. Wait, how did he know that it was on the chessboard? Holmes-san is an odd one, alright. After hearing his deduction just now, I finally feel like now we know at last who the true thief is. I guess this is, but Holmes, what did you just do? Your Honor.
Yes, defense?
The defense would like to indicate the name of the true thief in this case.
What? The true thief?
Interesting. Just who does this legal aid on probation intend to accuse? I suppose I'll hear you out. In that case, Mr. Naruhodō, throw it all in their faces. Right. The true thief responsible for stealing Prosecutor Van Ziek's silver chalice is Holmes. It was you, Sherlock Holmes-san.
What? Holmesy?
What? Why me? The stolen chalice was displayed on the chessboard. Is that true, Prosecutor Van Zieks? I guess you did call it. Yes, indeed it was. There's no way he could have known that unless he'd seen the chalice in the office. So how did you know, Holmes-san? That's true. Now that you mention it, how did I know? Huh? Probably. I've been so busy thinking about Iris that I completely forgot. But now that you mention it, I came to have some fun at the prosecutor's office and peeked in on Reapy's office. That was 10 days ago. It can't be related to this case. Hold it. You... What did you just say? Did you say you peeked into my office? Now, I'm a busy man after all, you see? I'd completely forgotten until just now.
You will tell us everything that happened at that time. Every last detail, with honesty.
Holmes! Oh, very well. I was just starting to get into a chatty mood. What on earth is going on here? That day, my eyes fell upon it in Reapy's office. By which I mean the famous Lord's bottle, sitting right on top of his desk. Anyone would want to try a sip, right? I was no different. So I poured some into that rubbishy-looking old chalice standing on the chessboard. What? And what do you think happened next? I noticed that the bottom of the inside of the chalice had gone all black. There was a fair bit of terrifying arsenic hidden in that bottle. Think of that. I hurriedly poured the contents of the bottle out the window. What? But that chalice... Yes, I noticed it then too. The tarnish on the chalice had been there for many years. But I already dumped the Lord's bottle out the window by that time, you see. So I filled it back up with tea, and put it back among the other bottles. Tea? Yeah, Iris always makes me a flash when I go out. By the way, I put the bottle with the tea in it carefully back on the shelf. And you finally drew the winning bottle just today, apparently. I know, right? The fox really does suit him. It was 10-day-old tea, after all. Of course it tasted awful. Don't me! Damn you! Don't tell me. That's when you made off with my chalice. Yeah, come to think of it, I slipped it into my pocket and brought it home with me. But why would you do such a thing? I couldn't help being bothered by the tarnish, so I thought I'd shine it up for you. Why are you only telling us all this now? Well, I already said, didn't I? This all happened 10 days ago. This theft only happened 3 days ago. How could it possibly be related? To be honest, I don't check every day to make sure that my chalice is still on the chessboard. So it just so happened to be 3 days ago that you noticed it was missing. Is that what you mean? Yeah, well, I didn't think you meant that chalice. Why didn't you say so sooner? How many tarnished old silver chalices do you think I have? I suppose you're right. You got me there. Oh my God, Sherlock! Ah! 10 years ago, the Grim Reaper made his first appearance here in Old Bailey. After a 3-day trial, a not guilty verdict was handed down, and the villain ended up losing his life due to falling rocks at a construction site. that was the beginning of my unending battle against the criminals of this city. At the time, I was in the habit of using an old silver chalice that I inherited from my father. The trial began, and as soon as I unsuspectingly tipped my chalice, a chill ran down my spine. The bottom of the chalice had gone black. Apparently, some criminal had secretly wiped some arsenic along the inside of your chalice. It was all a complete coincidence. The fact that my chalice was silver, as well as the fact that I just happened to look inside the cup before I drank. The true identity of the Grim Reaper is Lord Baroque Van Zieks. Think of that. The villain's comrades tried to get revenge on you. But when the trial ended that day, I decided that from now on, I was going to take these people head on. Take these people on head on. And at the end of that day, I sealed away the silver suit of armor that had protected me that day. Suit of armor. You must mean the chalice. That's when I began using these transparent glass chalices instead. I will fight fair in all things, and my taste in chalices reflects that resolve.
Dear Lord.
It's been 10 years since then, but in the end, I was never able to catch the one responsible for coating my chalice with poison.
Is that why he doesn't drink his drink all the time, too, actually?
I know, right? That chalice is filled with those bitter memories. Hello! Woo! I'm running out of breath here. Ah yes! Regarding your beloved chalice. After bringing it home with me, I did a thorough investigation of it on my own. What? Well, it ended up being quite difficult. I had to lift 10 years worth of fingerprints from it and analyze them, you see?
What? Is that even possible?
Yes, it took longer than expected, but this morning I caught the criminal responsible. It was a Mr. Devin Moosegrave. Say that for Discord. What? I heard that name out in the lobby this morning. It was the younger brother of the major criminal who lost his life at the hands of the Grim Reaper 10 years ago. Mr. Maycare Moosegrave. His name was originally Charon Moosegrave. When the siblings' first names are put together, they read Devil May Care. Oh, he admitted to coating your chalice with poison. When I heard you say the name Moosegrave this morning, I thought it couldn't be. Naturally, I'm sure you were highly suspicious of him yourself at the time, after all. Why on earth did you? I said it before, did I not? I couldn't help being bothered by the tarnish on the silver, so I figured I'd shine it up for you. Holmes-san.
It seems as though all the mysteries have become clear.
All thanks to Mr. Holmes. I think most of this was Mr. Holmes' fault in the first place, though.
In that case, defendant Iris Watson.
Yes?
I will now hand down your final verdict.
I don't believe there's any need for a verdict.
Lord Van Zieks?
This was a special trial which was held due to my personal complaint. If I drop the charges, that will be the end of it.
Understood.
Miss Watson, are you alright with that?
Yes.
I am terribly sorry for the injustice that I have done to you. Please, forgive me.
On one condition.
Condition.
You have a second Lord's bottle there. If you'll promise to take good care of it, I'll forgive you.
What do you mean, take good care? You never learn, do you, Reapy? What? Times like these are the best times for enjoying a sip. Maybe that means there's some of Iris-chan's tea in there. It's empty.
All according to plan.
Huh? What does she mean by that?
Now then, Reapy, take good care of it, okay?
Alright. What?
In that case, this trial is hereby adjourned.
With Prosecutor Van Zieks continually cocking his head, the curtain closed on this crazy trial. Same day, 11:12 a.m., Old Bailey's defendant's lobby.
Thank you, Naruhodō-kun and Holmesy.
Congrats, Iris-chan.
That trial ended sooner than I thought it would. This means we'll be perfectly in time for afternoon tea.
I said so, didn't I, Iris? As far as I'm concerned, defending is nothing more remarkable than a yawn before breakfast. I can't help thinking that's not exactly true. But in the end, there's still one mystery remaining. Oh? You really did enter his office 3 days ago, right?
Well, I ended up being spotted as I was trying to leave, see?
So, what in the world were you doing in Prosecutor Van Zieks' office?
Oh, actually...
Pardon me. Prosecutor Van Zieks. There was something I couldn't help wondering about, so I came to ask you. What exactly was the story behind that Lord's bottle earlier?
Happy birthday!
What?
Today's your birthday, right, Reapy?
Right. I suppose it is. My suspect information network can dig up practically anything. So then, does that mean...
Yeah, I thought up a lot of different approaches. The prosecutor's office isn't open on the weekends, so I had no choice but to go 3 days ago. I calculated how many bottles Reapy would throw over the course of these past 3 days, and made my choice so that he'd pick up that bottle on his birthday trial.
So then, the bottle he tried to pour wine from earlier. Are you saying it was a birthday present?
Yep. Reapy always looks so lonely by himself, see?
Oh no! My heart! Wow! Ow! Oh my goodness! Apparently those words from a little girl cut him unexpectedly deep. But why an empty bottle? It wasn't empty. Huh? There was something strange about it, so I peeked inside and found this. This?
Well, Reapy, you promised me, okay? promise me that you'll take good care of Van Zixie.
Van Zixie! No! Oh no! Ow! My heart! I can't! Oh no! And that's how it is. Any objections? Reapy? No, not particularly. Pardon me. I need to return to the prosecutor's office. Unnecessary feelings! Baroque has feelings! It looks like everything kind of fell into place in the end, huh? I'm kind of moved. Yeah, I guess, except for one thing. Huh? After all, there's no mistaking that we broke into the good prosecutor's office. And there's a fine for that. Of 10 pounds. That's pretty high. How about moving your wallet in addition to your feelings? Pay up!
Yeah, pay up!
Wait, why are you making Naruhodō pay up? He's on probation! What money? So that's how it's gonna be. Well, I figured I ought to make the final act exciting for you, see? I went to quite a lot of trouble making everything flow smoothly. In that case, excuse me.
Oh, I knew it! You just gotta end with one of those.
Attorney Naruhodō's pre-lunch shout. Do it nice and loud now. Ikiari! Oh no! That just hit me with feels! Oh! Unnecessary feelings! Oh!